Hey everyone, this is Saito and I have great news for you, because this might become the last episode of what has basically become a series of the English voice actors in Genshin going through everything in order to get an actual studio. And they luckily did find one, so now we'll tell you everything about it. But before that, please consider to subscribe because it would really help the channel. Your support is very important to me, and by doing that I would also make more videos for you. And now let's get into the video. So I will give you a brief Dragon Ball Z recap, but if you want to hear more about this story, then you should check out these two other videos, because they progressively explain to you exactly what has been happening and what we knew about it. So if you played Genshin in the last months, you have noticed by a lot of times that the English voice actors are just not present in so many options. The biggest example as of right now is going to be for the Lantern Rite, where more than 80% of the voice actors will not be present, including also Huta, which is basically the protagonist. So a fan favorite character without the voice actor as the protagonist with also a new skin just released might not be the great option. Many other voices have been missed, including especially in the story quest, because it's been months since we have not heard any single voice actors for the story mode. It started off with Kachina and then it basically started going everywhere. That is because of a strike where many voice actors have been participating into, and it's against AI because of just the threat that it could pose, whether it's going to be good enough to just be used instead of their actual voices, or that companies might use that voice without even giving compensation, or it's just very scary. So I'm very glad that I have been fighting for all of this time, that they have been just kept going, even though that's also because of a union thing, where basically if you just are a voice actor and you are part of the union and you don't do what every other voice actor in the union is doing, you're just left out. So I'm not saying that the union isn't fucked up either, but at least they're fighting against AI, I guess. But last December something big happened, because Genshin Impact cut ties with Formosa Interactive, which is their voice acting studio, which has worked with so many big important games, and it did a very bad job. It did not pay Paimon's voice actress for like 6 months, I believe, and it's famous for many bad things, including also just not signing the AI used for voice acting. This led to the strike, and eventually they cut ties with Formosa. So people were expecting that for the version maybe 5.3 we were going to see them back, because they just cut ties, but that's not that easy. And now we just had so many voice actors for Genshin just not having an actual studio, but we finally found one. The studio in question is going to be Side, which has worked with so many other very important games, and something that's pretty huge is that also Arknights and Wuthering Waves work with Side as well. So I don't think we will see many problems where just a game is being voiced, like Wuthering Waves has the voices but not Genshin, like what happened with the past months already. And it's just a very nice thing that we finally got something that's very reassuring, that we finally found an exit to all of these protests. So the story is basically over. The voice actors cut ties with Formosa, now they're going to Side, and that is it. But now the important question, when are we going to hear them back? Version 5.4? No, not at all. Version 5.5? Not really sure, but version 5.6? Yeah, very likely. If you're asking why it's gonna take so long, it's because just think about it. All of these voice actors finally going back after all of this time. There are so many of them, they still have to do so many other procedures in order to just change the studio, get into there, and actually start recording. So the odds of listening to their voices in the next version are basically close to zero. They are still very small in the version 5.6, but in the version 5.7 they should be finally settled after basically 3 months. But that just goes to show you that it's going to take 3 more months to get these fucking voices. In the meantime, I advise you to just switch to a Japanese or Chinese or Korean dub, so in the meantime at least you can hear to something. I am glad that they kept fighting for AI and just did not bend the knee, because many others would have done it, and I'm glad that they finally got removed from Formosa, because Formosa has never done anything good from what I hear. Paimon's voice actress had to change the studio herself just alone, because they didn't pay her for 6 months, and that's just insanity. But for example, Shilonen and Capitano has already been voiced by Side, so you can already hear their voices in the Archon quest, which is pretty nice. I mean, it does not really help when you can't hear 90% of the voices, but at least you've got the Capitano. But just to give you an idea, the strike began on July 26, so basically the end of July 2024, and if we are going to hear the voices coming back in 3 months, then it will be at the end of April. From the end of July 2024 to the end of April 2025, it's a lot of time. It's about 9 months of English voices being silent. That's really a long time for such games. As I said before, characters are the most important aspect of these games, and by that I mean everything about a character, not only the design, not only the behavior, but also the voice. And if you can't bond as much with a character because you don't have the voice, this leads to less importance in the community, this leads to less people caring about characters, this leads leads to less engagement, to less fan arts, to less just appreciation from the community, and this leads to Hoyoverse losing money, which is something they really don't want to, especially if you pair it with the fact that they lost 50% of their revenue in the past year, especially because of many other things, such as for example new games popping out. Wuthering Waves has been very important, and this year we are also going to see Project Mugen, Neverness to Everness, and also Arknights Enfield, just more opponents for Genshin while they are still in this period of crisis. I just hope that this will make Hoyoverse make more content and just make it better, just so they can try to contrast these other games, because they actually pose a big threat, especially when you compare it to all of the other problems that Hoyoverse is having. But when you see the version 5.4, you understand that maybe it's not gonna be that easy. It's like they're trying their best to include as little new things as possible, like the 5.4 patch is going to be a completely dead patch, it's not going to include anything new, but I guess they just have to fuck around and find out once the new games actually come out and once they see if the money keep on being even lower. I am 100% sure that we are going to see the Capitano banner, because he's going to appear, there is no fucking way that he's not going to be released, especially because Mavuika did not even have that much of a success. Many people even prefer Capitano to the actual Archon, and that's not something very common. So they kinda already blew their load by just making the Mavuika banner, because she doesn't even be liked a lot by players. The hype surrounding her and also Natlan in general isn't that high, honestly, especially if you try to compare it to Nahida, Red and Shogun, or god forbid Nuvolet, because that thing had people hooked for so much time. So I guess we just have to wait and see, but at least for now this is very good news that the voice actors are coming back and that Hoyoverse can actually kind of try to make a comeback. And that's it for the video. If you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!